Hey everyone, Paul ASM. Welcome to part 4 of my car modelling techniques revisited. So yes, today we're going to deal with decaling, another one of my favourite stages of a build. I absolutely thoroughly enjoy decaling. I know a lot of people dread this, but as long as you take your time and you're careful, it's not that bad. And the more you do, the better you'll get and the more you will enjoy it. Most importantly, take your time, have some good decal solutions like our ultimate decal solutions are a lifesaver, and references to hand are very important. Don't always go by the references that come with the decals. I've had them where the decals have been placed wrong before. Find the real life subject, have pictures of it to hand, and use it as reference, which is what I did all through this. So we're going to start today with the decal, and like I say, well, we're going to end on the decal as well, but we're going to start with the white stripes to cover our demarcation between the blue and the black. Probably the most difficult decals on the decal sheet. Everything else is a piece of cake, really. So I always start with the more difficult ones and then move on to the larger ones and work my way down. So that's what we're going to deal with it. So here we go. Let's get on with some decaling. Okay, so we're on to decaling. We have our decal sheet. We have our coffee warmer on the top right with our water receptacle, which is a trumpeter decal water tray. We've got our decals, decal solutions, the model kit itself. So I have the decal tray on a coffee warmer. Hot warm water, much more beneficial to decals. I get them off the backing paper a lot quicker. I also think it makes them a bit more supple and easy to apply. Obviously, that's up to you if you think that or not, but it definitely makes them quicker to come off the backing paper. I've also got a brand new blade in my scalpel. I've got cotton buds, UMP decal solution, strong, normal, and extra strong. I've got a brush of my choice. I like to use the water brushes, but without anything in them. Just got so used to using the brushes when I did have the solutions in them that I carried on using them. And we're going to gently apply the decals. So the first one I'm going to concentrate on, for me, I always go for the hardest ones first. And these demarcation decals are going to give us the transfer between the blue and the black look to be the most trickiest. There's some very long decals. This one alone is about 8 inches long. So, well, 7, 6, 7, you know what I like it, overestimating blokes. 6 to 7 inches long. And it goes from side of that wing, diagonally down, around the front bumper, and under the front grille. So I'm going to go for the whole process on this one. And I'll pick out the roof decal later, show you how to deal with a larger decal. I'm going to speed up some of the footage as we go through the decaling, just to speed things up. Like I said, we've got the Ultimate Modern product Strong, which I've just put a little bit in the lid there. Sorry, normal. This is the Strong. And then always put your decal solutions back in. And in a minute, I'm going to get the extra strong out as well. So I would always recommend on decals, if you're not sure what strength decal solution they need, just tasting that. Yeah, it tastes lovely. And that one, yes. No, I wasn't tasting them at all. I was smelling them. Don't ask me why. I just was. Do not drink them, whatever you do. Dangerous stuff. And the extra strong here as well. Now, I've no idea what decal solution is going to be needed. So I started with the normal. I found out they needed the strong and the extra strong in the end. So once you know the decals, you know which solutions they need, you can move straight up to the more potent variants. But always start with the lower power solution first. Don't go in full load first because you'll end up melting decals or ruining things. So patience is key, just as preparation is. And there we go. So a minute or so in the water. And the decal is ready to come off the backing paper. So we've got to hold it with the decal tweezers, another invaluable tool. We're going to offer up roughly where it needs to go, and then hold the decal and pull the backing paper off. Look at that. Almost exactly where we want it. So get it on. Get your tweezers or your brush. And I'm going to moisten the decal just with water. That's all that's in there. If you find that the decal sticks and you can't move it, put a bit more water on it. Put some on your finger and wipe it over. Use your brush, whatever you need to do to re-moisten the decal. If you moisten it again, keep it moist. It will move around. And don't be afraid to pick them up. You can pick decals back up. They are delicate, but you can move them around a little bit more than you think, especially the high quality decals like these. But all we need to do here is make sure that A, they're where we want them. So it's going right up to that B pillar, that it covers our demarcation of the paint, and it travels down over that front wing, just touching the lip of that wheel arch and around the front bumper. Once you're happy you've got it where it is, get a nice clean cotton bud and just gently roll or wipe it, depending on what you think it needs, over the top of the decal to remove any excess moisture. And again, don't be afraid to move things around. I've sped the footage up a bit now just to save a bit of time, but don't be afraid to move it around. Use your tweezers, use your finger, re-moisten the decal if you need to, just till you get it straight. Please pay attention here, because wonky decals on lines like this are visible a mile off. Once you're confident you've got it where you need it, you can hit it with decal solutions. As I've said, it's the first decal, so we go with the UMP normal to begin with, but these are going to need the strong and the extra strong. We can then move on to the front of the car, and this just goes underneath our front grille. So again, we need to just line it up. The other decal will come across from the other side and overlap it a bit. But just gentle persuasion and movement, and again, get the fluid out from behind the decal. Fluid behind the decal will give you silvering. Trap fluid in air will make silvering appear on the carrier film at the back, so you don't want that. A lot of people are going to tell you need to gloss before decals, but you can have a gloss surface that's still rough, and you can have a matte or satin finish that's still nice and smooth. My paintwork is lovely and smooth. I never gloss before decals on cars. I have done on aircraft and armour in the past, but then stop finding it beneficial, really. Unless you're really unsure of your paint, I don't think there's any benefit in clear coat before decals. But if you haven't got the confidence and you're happy you're doing it that way, gloss coat before you do it. Now, the heat gun, another invaluable tool. This will get rid of a lot of the moisture. It'll make the decal a bit more supple as well. Once you hit it with that, wipe over the cotton bud again. There we go. And again, the aim here is to get the decal conformed to all the surfaces. Make sure it's fully stuck down and exactly where we want it. And then we hit it with the strong. And this will get hit with the extra strong as well later on. But like I say, this is the first decal out of the bag. So we need to take our time. Make sure that we're not going to get any adverse reactions. That's the case, just working around until you're happy it's down. You can leave the decal solutions for a minute or so, have a quick swig of tea like I am there, and then come back to it a minute or so later. With the more potent decal solutions, a strong and extra strong, don't let it pool up on the paint. It is an acidic solution, so it wouldn't work if it wasn't. It wouldn't melt the decal, so it can leave marks on paintwork. So just bear that in mind, don't let it pool up. You just want it on the decal so you can wipe off any excess on any paintwork. And it's a case of just working around with the decals, with the heat, with the cotton buds until you're happy that it's fully where you want it. And there we go. I would say that's just about bang on. And then we've got all these little white demarcations for the A and C pillars, and then we've got the lower bumper, the skirt on the side, the rear bumper around the back to do. These are quite tricky. I'm not going to go through all these. I'm just going to show them being put in place. But this is where it was so important to get all our paintwork measured up correctly, and why we double check the length of the decals as well to make sure that they all fitted where they need to go. And this is where your reference is handy on screen as well. Not just the decal instructions, have references of the real car as well, so you can look at it and go, is that right? And at least you know. So time and care needed. I use two sets of tweezers. I've got these Sizo precision tweezers and the Tamiya decal tweezers. The wider prongs, I suppose we call them. Do we call them prongs? Grips? I don't know. Beneficial on decals because it's a larger surface area, but I like the Sizo ones for the precision. I've been able to get decals exactly where you need it. And on this one, we need to line it up on the top of that rear bumper, then over the edge, and then run it down over the back of the bumper, over our black demarcation line. And there we go, there's them all done. We've done both sides. They're all we want them. Pretty happy with all the paintwork and the decals, they look really good. No issues whatsoever. Tricky little bit of decaling, but not that bad at the end of the day. And then we've got all of the decals to go down. So we've got a variant types of some large ones, require a bit of carrier film, like this Listerine one. So anything that's got large areas of carrier film, anywhere where there's not a decal there in that line of decal, is clear. And that's where you'll get your silvering. So you want to ensure you get every bit of moisture out from behind the back. So use your heat gun, use your cotton buds before you commit to hitting them with the decal solutions. And then larger decals like the nice coloured dragon, the Listerine dragon. You just need to make sure it's in the right place. On the decals, they do state to make sure with our fingers pointing. So I did make sure to get it in the right place. And then again, a case of just getting all the excess fluid out from behind the back. It was at this point Alan distracted me, Mr. Parker. I'm going to blame him. And I broke the dragon's hand. So quite handy to show though. To line it back up, just re-moisten it with water. Get your tweezers, take it up to the point where it meets up. And if you match it up perfectly, you won't even see the join. But yeah, getting distracted by your decaling, not the best. But we've got the bumps of the bonnet to go over, so we want to get everything to conform nicely. So it's a case of just methodically going round, get rid of all the solution and fluid from behind the decals, hit them with heat, hit them with the decal solutions until you're happy they're all in place. So quite a lot of decals. It's a pretty simplistic scheme. I think placement is more important for a lot of them. So like I say, your references are vital. Just keep an eye on everything. And I like to work on one section at a time. So we'll work on the bonnet, roof, one side, then the other side, and then the boot. Be careful where you put your fingers in your hands when you're holding things, because if you put your finger in a freshly set decal, you've got a good chance of either ruining it or pulling it off the model. So you've got to be very, very careful. And when you run the cotton buds over, always make sure the cotton bud's moist and they're not putting too much pressure. And quite often it's better to roll than drag. But I know that decal was down, so I was quite happy applying a bit of pressure. So like I say, a whole load of decals to go down. Like, not the busiest of schemes, but some of them quite tricky and have to be on certain angles. So you've got to pay attention to your call outs and your reference pictures and just take your time and work your way around. So it's a nice scheme, this one. It's definitely one of my favourite E30 schemes. It's quite an iconic one for me. Up over the Labatt's car and the Jägermeister ones. Definitely one of my favourites. Shikorico Omega Express were one of the delivery firms in the UK. I think synonymous with delivering catalogue goods from the old pay weekly, pay monthly catalogues. That's how I remember them for, the old transit vans. So quite an iconic scheme, this one. So we've got 3 decals on the roof. We get all these off in one go, line them up with our finger until we're happy. Just keep referring to your call outs and your reference pictures. Just make sure everything is orientated the same at the correct angle and any straight edges are followed across the board. So we want a straight edge up diagonally across these. And then, like I say, remove all the excess moisture from behind. Just take your time with a cotton bud. These cotton buds are off Amazon. They're linked in my store in the description down below. I used to use Johnson's, used them for years, swore by them. The quality's gone down the pound, the Johnson's, and the amount of fluff and crap they leave on your model surface is absolutely ridiculous. So these are bamboo ones from Amazon. They're not expensive at all. In fact, they're cheaper than Johnson's. There's a link in the description below. If you go into my Amazon store, they'll be on there. And yeah, they're very good quality. Don't leave a lot of fluff behind. And yeah, they work really well. Like I say, get rid of all the moisture till you're happy, and then hit it with a strong on this time. Straight to strong. We know that they need extra strong to get them to fully set, so we hit them with the strong first, let this sit for a minute, wipe it off, put the extra strong on, let it sit for a minute or so, wipe it off, heat, job done. It's as simple as that, really. It doesn't need a lot of mucking around. Our decal solutions work really quickly, and don't be afraid of going over the decals. As long as they don't instantly melt, which if you're using the correct strength decal solution, they won't, you can keep working over them. Like I say, just leave the decal solution on for a minute or so and then gently wipe it off. It doesn't need a lot of pressure. You're only soaking up the water, or the fluid, sorry. Once you've soaked it all up, you can then burnish down the decal a little bit more if you need to. but the decal solution alone should do it. Unless you get a bit of moisture behind the decal, then you may need a little bit of pressure. Incidentally, if you do get silver on the decal, I find a few light swipes of the modelling knife through the decal, and I mean very fine swipes through the decal. Get a cotton bud, you can quite often get the moisture out from behind it. It's a last ditch step to try and save the decal, really. But if you do get it, just put a couple of very fine score lines in, get your cotton bud, and try and force out that moisture. But the heat gun is an invaluable tool. Obviously, don't go too mad. These things do get very hot. You don't want to melt the decal or your model. Keep it moving round, and don't keep it on there for too long. We just want a little bit of heat. I find if you keep your finger nearby, your finger will let you know when you put enough heat on, because it will literally burn you. And there we go, perfectly applied decals. Nice and simple, quick and easy. And then we've got a whole myriad of decals all over the model now to put on. We've got these three on the side. Again, we need to line them up as we did on the roof. They are really nice decals, these. The Studio 27s can vary. I often find if they say UMI on the decal sheet like these did, or cartograph, you'll be fine. If there's no marker on them whatsoever, they're normally a bit of a nightmare, as in they're very Fujimi-esque, very thick, very reluctant to set and conform. So yes, if you've got UMI on them, they'll be like these, and these went down without any drama whatsoever. If there's nothing written on them, you may get a bit of a hard time there. So yes, take your time with them until you get to know how the decals react and like setting. Once you have it in place, again, get all the moisture out. Now this set of decals, these ones are going over the door shut lines, the panel lines. So we need to burnish the decal in there as well while we're working it down to the surface. Once it's done and you've applied the strong solution, I would then get a brand new blade in your scalpel, follow the panel line, let the blade follow the panel line, and just lightly cut through the decal, nice and slowly. A fresh, sharp blade is essential. And then grab your decal brush with some solution on, and I like to just gently point down into the panel line. That way you'll get the decal to conform to the panel line, and then brush sideways across it and away, and you'll get the decal to set in place as well. So there's a few that needs cutting. These need doing. The number board will need cutting here as well. So it's important to get it in place, get it all level, lined up where you want it, get all the moisture out from behind it. I would hit it with your first stage of set solution. And then once you're happy, it's in place, wipe it over and then cut through it. But always make sure you got a nice new blade in that knife, because it will make cutting a lot easier. And just take your time, find the panel line, very light pressure, let the knife guide its way through the panel line. And like I say, use your decal brush just to stipple the decal into that panel line. It'll make life a lot easier. And there we go. And it's a step worth doing. Trust me, I see loads of people that don't do this. Where I haven't done it in the past, when I was first starting car modelling 4 or 5 years ago, I'd often find that the clear coat, be it 2K or cellulose, whatever, will creep down the panel line and lift the decal. So I make a point now every time of cutting the decal and making sure it's fully burnished down, because that's the main risk with 2K. Other than the health implications, which we'll talk about when we get to 2K, the other risk you got is it lifting decals that aren't properly conformed. So it's well worth cutting those panel lines. I would highly recommend it. Just take your time, nice sharp blade, and you'll be just fine. So a few decals on the back to go down as well. We've got the M3 logo, which is just under that right rear light. You can see it. And then there's an M Sport logo that sits on the boot lid. By the looks of the real car, the original BMW badges are literally sprayed over. And the livery is just stuck over the top of them, from what I can see. Like I say, these decals, they went down no problem at all. Really, really nice. Responded well to the strong and extra strong UMP decal solutions. They conformed well. They're all in register. Good, vivid colours. And like I say, with a little bit of heat, definitely helps settle them down. Just don't go mad with the heat. It's very easy to melt things. Keep your fingers nearby. Like I say, they'll let you know when things are getting hot. And the front bumper, which we kept separate as well. And again, to get everything lined up. Don't be afraid to move them around. They're not a one-shot deal. And there we go. There's 2 shell logos on the side as well. And there we are. There's all our decaling done. Lovely scheme on this. It's an absolutely beautiful looking scheme. Once it's clear coated, the blue's really going to pop. And yeah, just a really nice iconic scheme of a classic British touring car. Very, very cool. Really like this one. I've been wanting this one for a long time, so it's glad to finally get the scheme in. Now, panel line wash. We'll let those decals dry for a good 4 or 5 hours. We've got some Tamiya enamel based panel line wash. We're going to mix grey with a bit of black to get a nice dark grey colour. We don't want black on this, it'd be too stark a contrast. We want a nice dark grey. You just want to be able to see the panel lines rather than being, whoa, there they are. So the lighter the car, the lighter the panel line. So I'm going to put a load of grey in. These have been shaken to absolute bejesus. They do take some mixing. And then we'll grab some black and add a couple of drops of black until we're happy we've got a nice dark grey colour. So like I say, enamel based, we're putting these over lacquer, so we shouldn't get any reactions at all. Pretty safe to put one paint over another. If you're using enamel, you need to be very careful because the enamel wash can reactivate the enamel paint. And again, safe over acrylics. Just be careful, take your time, and as always, you'll be just fine. Again, if you're not confident, you can gloss before this if you wanted. Just any gloss runs the risk of filling the panel lines, and a lot of people like to do this after 2K, but again, 2K is quite a thick clear coat, and it can sometimes fill the panel lines, but not a huge amount of them on this car at all. So all we're doing is touching the brush to the panel line, let the capillary action follow it round, and it'll just flow through the panel lines until we're consistently filled, and then leave that for half an hour or so. You can come back in with some Santador, is my fluid of choice. It's from Winsor & Newton. It's an odorless mineral spirit. You can use white spirit, I believe, as well. I'm not a fan of it. The smell gives me banging headaches. Santador is without odour, hence the name, sans odour. And I've used it for years. Never had any adverse effects other than on Pledge, believe it or not, which is why I moved away from Pledge many, many moons ago. And yep, it's good, reliable stuff. So I've got a little bottle at the top there of Santador. We've got put some on a cotton bud. We just ran it over lightly over the panel lines. And then we've got a nice clean soft bit of kitchen paper, and we're just wiping off all the excess. And it's a case of just going around till you removed it all. You want to get it all off the body, leaving it in the panel lines. You may find on white decals it'll need a little bit more work just to get it off. But don't go too mad, don't be rubbing too hard. These are unprotected decals. Just take your time until you're happy it's all gone. And repeat that everywhere else. And a little tip I always give everybody, when you think you're done, put the muddle down for 5 minutes, pick it back up, and I'll almost guarantee you'll find a spot you've missed. You get like blind to looking at the model. The amount of times I've been harping for a tack coat and a 2K job, turn it round, and there's a piece of panel line wash I've missed, and it's like, damn, too late. And here we go. That's it. All panel lined, all decaled. Turned out absolutely fantastic. It's a beautiful, vivid scheme. I really do like this one, as I keep saying. We're now ready for 2K, which is the next step. So we're going to leave that for a day to fully let everything dry. But I'm confident we could 2K this that night. Quite happy to do that. But she's looking good. All the decals have conformed and set really nice. All our paintwork, demarcation with the white as well is absolutely perfect. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this one 2K'd. So that's our next step in part 5. And there we are. Lovely. She looks absolutely beautiful. Really does. All the decals went down fine. No issue with them anywhere. My measurements were spot on. The only one that's a little bit iffy is the A-pillar. I think the decal's just too short by a millimetre. I've masked it near enough perfectly. I'm quite happy about that. But I think that decal is just ever so slightly so short. So bear that in mind when you're doing it. And a little tip, the decals that go down the front wings and go around the front, there's enough to cut off that you could use on those A-pillars instead. There's about that much extra that you could use. I didn't know that. I did it the awkward way first, but anyway, it is what it is. But very happy with how it's gone. The panel line wash, just a formality, but again, make sure your decals are fully dry. Tamiya is my panel line wash of choice with Santador, high quality odorless mineral spirits from Winston Newton. What you use is up to you, but make sure you double check that it's compatible with your paint and the decals. I've never had a problem with Santador over decals, it's always been fine. So just be careful, but make sure those decals are fully cured for at least several hours before you put any wash on there. Well, there we are. We're ready for 2K next. So that will be the next step in par 5. Another one of my favourite stages as well. I just love painting. It's my favourite thing of all. And it really will bring this alive. It will make the blue and the black pop. And it's a major stage of the build done and out of the way. And we can move on to the chassis, roll cage, running gear, the interior, and really motor along with this build. I didn't think I'd be this far into this build so quick. So yes, some of you aren't going to see this probably till after Christmas and New Year, but my patrons will see this before Christmas. And somebody asked me last night, do you think I'll get this finished before Christmas? And I was like, I don't know about Christmas, New Year maybe. So this may be build number 18 of the year for me if we get through it quick enough. Not that we're in any rush, I'm just enjoying it. It's my favourite model kit. I know it inside out. It's one of my favourite schemes on the car. And I enjoy making videos like this, so it always spurs me along with the build. So patrons may see this done before the end of the year, and if not, into 2023, you'll watch this on ISM. Speaking of which, you want to support me, there's a Patreon link down below. If you do, you get a month early access on all the videos. There's loads of other perks worth looking at, including exclusive builds for patrons. There's an Alpha Honda Civic on the go at the minute. Access to a monthly live stream, a supporter-only Facebook group, and messenger chat. There's 45 of us in there in that messenger group chat, and it's good. Nice daily chat, good mornings to each other, talking about what we're doing for our day, showing our modelling projects. It's really nice. I'm glad I started up, to be honest. And there's other perks as well associated with it. So if you want to support me, keep me going in these videos. This is my full-time job, and without your support, I couldn't do this. So I do appreciate everyone takes the time to do it. Loads of other links down below. PayPal me, buy me a coffee, and everything associated with me down there. All the groups, pages, the lot, and an email address to get in touch with me if you've got any questions. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Click that subscribe button. Click the bell notification to get notified of the latest videos. And please leave a comment. Love reading all your feedback. The Subaru build series has proved massively useful for a lot of people, and I'm hoping this one does as well. But there we go. Enjoy the rest of the day, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.